Ladies, gentlemen, and others, welcome back to Boz Comics. I know at the end of the last video, I was still pretty salty about how the Nick Spencer run wrapped up, and that hasn't changed. That was an underwhelming, disappointing disaster. But the one thing I had been saying over the last two videos, the actual review and then the mini retrospective I did on the Spencer run, both times I think, I'd mentioned that I was looking forward with some amount of trepidation to the return of Ben Reilly. Ben Reilly was the clone of Peter Parker, who for a couple of years in the 90s was thought to be the original Spider-Man. But he worked out a deal with Peter Parker, who, again, keep all this straight because the 90s were weird at the time, but he was a clone. He worked out a deal with Peter. And so, Peter, you keep being Peter Parker. You fuck it, man. Like, Mary Jane loves you because you're the one that she's been with all this time. I'm not going to take your life from you, man, because, I'm Spider-Man and Spider-Man is a good dude. So, Pete, just keep being Peter Parker. Just go. You got a baby on the way. Go fucking be a dad and go be awesome in Portland or whatever the fuck. And I will usher in a new era for Spider-Man. I'm going to dye my hair blonde. Everybody's going to know me as Ben Reilly. I'm going to work in a coffee shop instead of a newspaper. Everything's going to be the same, but different. At the time, Peter and Ben were referring to each other as cousins. I don't know how this ruse worked because Ben was literally like the genetic duplicate with a bad dye job. They look exactly the same. They move exactly the same. They sound exactly the same. But somehow people bought this because comic books are a magical medium, man. And I say that with all the love in the world. But anyway, when I was buying comics for the first time, when I was getting into comics, I was watching the 90s animated series for Spider-Man. But my first exposure to comics was the Ben Reilly era. And I bought it hook, line, and sinker. I don't know, maybe I was a weird kid. But we always hear this shit about how fucking kids will be confused, audiences will be confused. I was like, oh, okay. So different things are going on. I knew as a kid that this was a series that had run for fucking ever. I knew that actually, if anything, I was a bit more charitable than I should have been as a child because I assumed that change meant something in American comics. And I was like, oh, damn. So I guess Spider-Man isn't Peter Parker anymore. I mean, he is, but he isn't. I guess this Ben Reilly thing is how it is. And I expected Spider-Man as Ben Reilly to be the status quo forever. I thought that's just how things were going to work. And I was okay with it. Now, again, I think in large part I was okay with it because Ben Reilly was technically Peter Parker, And I think there's also an element too of just when you're that young and you don't really have an understanding yet of what constitutes good storytelling or bad storytelling, because I was 8, younger, I think. I think I was just like, oh, that's cool. Oh, they're doing something different. Oh, this is way weirder and more quote unquote mature than the 90s animated series. Looking back, I guess that's pretty debatable. But, at the time, I think this was my thought. So I just went with it, man. I'm like, wow, this is crazy, but I think I like it. Also, Ben Reilly Spider-Man had a dope fucking Spider-Man costume. But anyway, for a couple of years there, across all the Spider-Man titles, Ben Reilly was Spider-Man. And that was my life. That was literally my first comic book exposure to Spider-Man. So whatever problems were inherent in the Clone Saga, and there were many, I now look upon the best times of the Ben Reilly era as like a warm nostalgia blanket. Wow. Excuse me. A warm nostalgia blanket that gives me comfort and makes me think of better times in my youth. And now, Ben Reilly is back. Not whoever the hell that was in the Scarlet Spider series from a couple years ago, or the fucking, what was the name of the arc from Dan Slott, my arch nemesis, in which Ben Reilly was the villain? Oh God, it was so dumb. I can't think of it. Was it Dead No More? Whatever. It was the one where like Ben came back and was the Jackal and fucking had this big fucking mega plot with like being a supervillain and fucking clone, like replacing everyone with clone. It's so weird and so out of character. And Dan Slott is the worst thing that ever happened to Spider-Man. Yeah, no. So, okay. So, Ben, I guess I never finished the Scarlet Spider series, but I guess like he made a deal with Mephisto or something, because apparently if you wear a spider on your chest, that's just something of an inevitability in this overall corner of the Marvel universe. But I think he might have gone to hell. And then I heard that like after that series wrapped up, then he like came back, and I guess now he's up till now he's been the Scarlet Spider in one of the current Iron Man books. So I'm not really too clear on that, but I know like Ben is back to his old self. I don't know how it happened. I don't care. I'm just glad that it happened. Ben is back to how I knew him as a kid, which is basically just Peter Parker. But like it's okay. I mean, it's a clone. It's a clone. Now he's had a lot of his own unique experiences, and I'm sure this book is going to lean on that as things go forward. But anyway, this is all a kind of a preamble to tell you that if nothing else, if you're like me and you remember Ben Reilly and you had a good time with that era of Spider-Man, this is that Ben. Like, he's back, baby, and he's that guy. And it's so cool to see him again. It's like seeing an old friend, and you know it won't last. You know, it's like your friend like flies into town for a few weeks, and you know it won't last, but you're like, God damn, let's tear it up. Let's paint the town red. Let's make some memories while you're here, my dude. And that's how it is here. Like, we know this is only lasting, I think, for not even a year. Didn't they? Because they already released solicits. Like, they kind of laid out their plan. Aren't they doing like? I think they're doing thrice monthly releases, so they can get up to like the big number before the end of the year. So it's not going to be, the Beyond arc is not going to be super long. Ben is not going to be Spider-Man again for super long. Like a good chunk of issues, but not a super many years, I think is how I understand it. But this is all the setup for that. So I'm not going to actually spoil the plot, because this issue is really good and you should go buy it. What I am going to do is discuss this story in broad strokes. So when we open up, Peter is depressed because of the events of the Spencer run. Don't worry, Pete. Me too. I am also quite sad about everything that happened in the Spencer run, but especially he is despondent over the death of Harry Osborn. And Zeb Wells, who I don't think has written a Spider-Man comic in like 10 years. And the last time he did, I guess it was a Lizard story. I think it was called Shed, and everybody fucking hated it. I haven't read that one. But here, his writing, I felt, was really good. It was really strong. I was super into it. It was tight prose. Honestly, this is only one issue that I'm comparing it to, but in terms of prose, speaking as a writer, I felt like it was stronger writing than anything we've seen from Nick Spencer. And Nick Spencer, I consider to be a good writer, at least in terms of prose. I think he stumbles a lot in his plots, as we've discussed, but I think that, you know, his prose is strong. I think Zeb Wells kicked ass here. So he really gets into Peter's inner monologue, and we look at how depressed he is after Harry's death and all the shenanigans that went on. He tries to go out and get his head cleared the best way that he can, swinging around the city. He encounters a new person in a Spider-Man suit with a couple of extra bells and whistles that his doesn't have. Later on, he is approached by Ben Reilly, who is like, yeah, that was me. and they have a wonderful conversation. And it's just so good. It's such a breath of fresh air. The book initially makes you think that the two Spider-Men are going to fight. Doesn't really happen. There's an explanation for the almost fight. And then when Ben and Peter sit down to talk midway through the issue, it's quite cordial. And Ben kind of lays out his mission statement of he's now working with the Beyond Corporation, who, again, I still don't know that much about. I think they're evil, but I don't think Ben's evil. I think the Beyond Corporation are kind of a bunch of fucks, but Ben is either doesn't know or is trying to make the most of it. We find out that they're the ones pulling the strings. They've set Ben up, and they're kind of like his collective man in the chair. And they've bought the copyright to Spider-Man, or the trademark, excuse me, which, yes, is a thing, because back during Superior Spider-Man, I guess Otto Octavius, when he was driving around Peter's body, trademarked the name Spider-Man because Otto Octavius is an arrogant douche. Much like certain Spider-Man writers, but anyway, he trademarked the name Spider-Man, so the Beyond Corporation, among other things, bought up the trademark to Spider-Man. And they want Ben to be the only Spider-Man. So Ben kind of just like fucking tells him like, hey, like, I just kind of want to be the only Spider-Man. This is not me telling you, like, fuck off. There's no machismo. There's no threatening. There's no strong arming. Ben is so human and so relatable. And he's like, I know how weird this is and how this all sounds. And oh my fucking God, I feel terrible. But listen, I threw in with this corporation. They bought the trademark to your superhero identity. They're giving me a shot. If they didn't give me a shot, they were going to give the shot to somebody else. I'm not fighting you here. I'm just asking you, just let me do this. Because this is my chance to make good again. I fucked up. I want to try again. I want to be good. I know I can. Just give me a shot here. Like, just let me do this. And like, Peter doesn't like then and there like abdicate like all responsibility as Spider-Man. To me, I interpret it more as like, please stay out of my way. Don't fight me on this. Let me do this. And they have such a pleasant conversation. It's just so nice. It's just so nice to see, like, because again, I was expecting a fight. You're expecting like a Superior Spider-Man situation, but Ben is Ben. These people were family. And you feel that here. Like, this is that Ben from 20 years ago. And it's just so, wholesomeness is so good. And it's just such a complete subversion of where I thought this was going to go. So they have a really nice talk. We're kind of setting up the status quo. We see Ben's earnestness, his desire to want to be a hero. And Peter, of course, is upset, but he's kind to Ben. Later on in the story, there is a fight with a bunch of supervillains that I personally have not seen before, or if I have, I don't remember them. Actually, let me back up. One cool thing, there is a scene, only a scene, but there is a good scene with Mary Jane in which she is supportive. So we have not dropped Mary Jane from the book. Okay, like Zeb Wells and company seem to understand that, yeah, like Mary Jane is integral to Spider-Man. They are a couple now. And just in their brief interaction, they feel more akin to the close, mature, adult couple that they used to be a few years ago before fucking Quesada and then Slott and everybody like fucked all that up. They feel like an adult couple just supporting each other. And it's cute as fuck, and I'm here for it. It's so good. Now, the only thing I don't like about that interaction between Peter and MJ, and it's not even a super negative, it's just, it took me aback a little bit, but I guess I understand it. You know, Mary Jane kind of gives the impression she's not too keen on Ben Reilly. At first I was like, okay, but again, they used to be family. But then I'm like, okay, Ben has done some shady fucking shit, and that's putting it mildly. She also remembers the Scarlet Spider era, I guess. But, you know, what can you do? Fucking your wife is not, sorry, she's not your wife. Your partner is not required to like all your friends and family. I'm married, I would know. But in any case, they have a really cute scene together. Only the one, but it's good to see that she's going to be utilized, and hopefully they keep that trend going forward. She was a big part of the JMS run. Spider-Man works best when his supporting cast is featured prominently in the book and used well and written well. This is a good sign. Let's not fuck it up. So at the end of the book, there's a big superhero fight. And again, I won't spoil the intricacies, but it's really good. And it involves the two Spider-Men. And again, Ben is not, fuck out of here. This is my show. You got to go. Ben is instead like, just, this is so good because Ben and Peter are basically the same person. They're finishing one another's jokes. Okay, there's one tiny bit I will spoil marginally. When Peter arrives on the scene of these supervillains wreaking havoc, he makes a joke. And one of the villains is like, shut the fuck up. That joke wasn't funny the first time. And Peter is like, what do you mean the first time? And then we see Ben lifting up this rubble that was dumped on him and he's unharmed. But the implication is like, oh shit, yeah, okay, same person. So they would make similar jokes in this situation. And I'm like, yes, thank you for fucking remembering the clone thing. Holy shit. And like Zeb Wells seems to really grasp the implications of cloning like this. Because up to a certain point, their lives do eventually diverge, but up to a certain point, like Peter and Ben have the exact same memories, like for like 20 years worth of them. So yeah. Holy shit. Oh, it's so good. And they're finishing each other's sentences. They're bouncing off one another's quips. They're just working together as a team because shit's going down. There's no jockeying about like who's the real Spider-Man. These are family. These are brothers. They love each other. And there's been some hard times, but they just jump right back into it. And they are like a perfect team, except at the end, or something happens that is no one's fault. And I can already see where it's going. And I think this is how they're going to set up having Ben take over the book for a while. And it makes sense. It does not denigrate Peter Parker. And Ben reacts with compassion and is a true bro. And it honestly, it made my heart stop for a second, but I was like, oh, okay. I see you. It's a good scene. It's a bunch of craziness I was not prepared for, but I was like, oh crap. I think you guys are going to like how they tee this up. I think we're going to still see a lot of Peter and MJ in the book going forward, but let's just say that at the end of this issue, yeah, Peter's not going to be in any position to be Spider-Man for a while, but it looks like Ben is genuine about wanting to give it a go. So yeah, guys, I haven't been this positive about a Spider-Man book in a bit. I definitely like the Spencer run overall more than the Dan Slott run because Spencer seems to actually like and care about Peter Parker and company. I just thought like he made a lot of really questionable choices and didn't stick the landing. I think this is a really strong opener for a new era. It really sets up the passing of the torch rather well. I'm genuinely excited for what comes next. With the Spencer run, I was less excited for what would... Let me rephrase. With the Spencer run, it wasn't so much that I was enjoying the individual issues. I was getting hyped just on the basis of what it could all mean, what it could lead to. I don't think I was actually enjoying the individual issues on their own merits all that much. Here, I really like this issue. I read it twice. I had a great time. I wish things were different with Pete, with MJ, with the whole Mephisto plot. I really thought something was going to happen there and it didn't. And it sucks and it hurts. And I feel like we were kind of taken for a ride. But if this first issue is any indication of how Spider-Man's going to be going forward, not even just in terms of Ben, but like in terms of the writing quality and the art, which is also really good. God damn it, I need to learn to talk about art on this channel. I'm sorry, guys. Art is just not my wheelhouse yet. I'll do better next time, but this video is already getting long. This was really good. Please go buy it. Go buy it. It's a little pricey because all of them are nowadays. Marvel, lower your goddamn book prices. You're insane. But it's good. I had a great time. There's lots of stuff in there that I didn't fucking go over, but again, just go read the book. It's worth your time and your money. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like. Likes are huge. A comment. You know I love hearing from you guys. Did you read this issue? Did you read Amazing Spider-Man number 75? What were your thoughts? I want to hear about them. You happy to see Ben? Were you not sold on this? Did this land hollow with you? Are you still too burned by the last issue to give a fuck about this one? It's all good. We stand differing opinions here. You can tell me. It's okay. I'll still love you. Please consider subscribing. I always say that I try to do these Monday through Friday, but that's really more like a goal. It is not always something I'm able to achieve, but I will be staying up on this Beyond arc. If nothing else, you will see at least a review of the latest Spider-Man issue, hopefully the day it comes out. So if you're interested in that, please subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. And if you want to support the channel, there's a link down below. You can buy me a coffee for $3. Throw a little support my way. That's always appreciated, but of course it is by no means required. Anyway, that's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you liked this issue. I hope you liked this video. I'll see you all next time.